It's been said before, but with attacks from Russian proxies in East Ukraine escalating, it bears repeating. Ukraine is fighting a war on two fronts. Front 1, the Donbas region. Front 2, the economy. Ukraine's economic performance has nosedived since last year's pro-EU uprising, the Maidan. Getting things back on track is as important, if not more so, than ending the conflict in East Ukraine. What is to be done? The editors at Bloomberg have some ideas. And that's what we'll look at on today's press review. But first, they offer a reflection on the current state of affairs in the conflict zone. They write, the goal of the moment seems to be to impoverish and destabilize Ukraine so that it will ultimately have to submit to Russian influence. With winter approaching, the Kremlin will soon have more ways to apply pressure. Rebel shelling is likely to be just the start. A rather ominous prediction. What are these other ways the Kremlin could apply pressure? They are principally economic. For example, Ukraine owes Russia $3 billion. It also may need Russian supplies of gas. Ukraine needs economic assistance, and quickly. So far, it would seem, the EU hasn't been much help. Bloomberg tells us since the conflict in eastern Ukraine began last year, the EU has given the government in Kiev just 2.21 billion euros of new direct financial aid. A tiny sum when compared with the hundreds of billions Europe has spent bailing out Greece. Much of the rest of the 11 billion euro package that the EU announced during Crimea's annexation amounts to vague promises and accounting tricks. Accounting tricks seem unlikely to lead to Ukraine being able to pull itself out of a deep recession. In other words, Ukraine needs much more help. Its economy shrank by more than 14% in the second quarter. Inflation has soared to 55%. Under these circumstances, Ukraine cannot save its way to recovery. It needs large-scale foreign aid and more creative thinking. Foreign aid might be possible to get hold of, but creative thinking doesn't always appear to have been the strong suit of policymakers in Brussels. But there is something they can do to help. Bloomberg puts it like this. A clear financial commitment to Ukraine would give the EU greater leverage to hasten reform, reassure Ukraine that there is reason to endure the pain that involves, and convince Putin that his strategy, costly to Russia as well as Ukraine, can't succeed. So, politics, economics and war. Three sides, it would seem, of the same coin. If the EU steps in and gives Ukraine the financial assistance it needs, Russia would see that its policy in East Ukraine is a dead end. And then perhaps the guns will fall silent and a political solution can be found. Maybe that's wishful thinking, or maybe it's a roadmap for peace. That's all we have time for today. Join us again tomorrow for another press review. This is Rahim Rahimtullah reporting for Ukraine Today in Kiev.